Hi everyone, it's 5:37 and this is your closing comment for today, Wednesday, the 29th. The month is almost over and I couldn't be more pleased. Okay, so today, as far as I was concerned, was a particularly crappy looking day. The Dow was up 90 after being down 590. It was up 250 or so, couldn't hold it. Market internals on the NYSE was 1.5 to 1 up. Over on the NASDAQ, we didn't even get a rally. We got some rally, but we finished on the downside, and the internals there advanced declines 1.4 to 1 down. Volume was up. The S&P was barely changed, up $6.83 after being down 90 yesterday. The Russell down 447 and the Dow Jones Transports down 77.73. That was the big loser on the day, although that's not a particularly big deal. Okay, pending home sales were reported this morning at up 8.1% versus expectations of up 1%, so a big beat there. And oil, which traded all over the place today, had a 4.58 million barrel build versus last week's 3.48 million barrel drawdown. So there seems to be a bit more oil around. It's not helping the price of gasoline. Um, as far as individual stocks, I mentioned this morning Dollar Tree, which was up 6.25 at 92.5. Well, the market loved their news, and their news was pretty simple. Uh, Pricing inflation is going to cause them to raise their limit instead of dollar to $1.25, $1.50, and they're doing a buyback. The stock closed, or the last trade now, is 100.51, and that's up 14.23 or 16.5%, as opposed to less than half that pre-open when the news was out. Generac gave guidance to the downside. I remember this is a $35 stock selling portable generators. The stock closed down 1881 today at 406.53, down 4.4% on that lowered guidance. Warby Parker came public today, IPO on the NYSE. No sellers of stock, though. This was a reference point IPO, and the reference point was 40. The stock opened at 54.05 and never traded below 52.96. The last is 54.24, up 14.24 or 35.6%. Unfortunately, on days like today and in markets like this one, we have companies like HLBZ. I've mentioned this one many times before. Um, its chart looked a lot like lightsabers, big jumps to the upside, closings at the low. The stock did move from 6 to 42, and then 3 days later was 18 again. And it has rallied back up into the mid to lower 20s, but today finished 14.15, down 652 or 32%. They have a registration statement that became available, only 2.65 million shares, but they are selling shareholders. So that's not money being sold by the company, those are shareholders. And you really have to be concerned when you see crappy little companies like this. Just remember that they are the ones who are writing their press releases. So HLBZ, in their press release, is called a global leader in micro mobility. And by the way, they also do e-scooters in Santa Barbara, and they have AI for the scooter business. First of all, I don't know how big the scooter business is, but even the biggest player has to be small. And their contract for their micro mobility is a joint venture with HLBZ Media to broadcast Series B junior soccer games in Spain and Italy. So, you know, do your homework and don't get stuck in crap like this. Um, as far as the sectors today, defense and food were the only two that were up. And those are about as, no pun intended, as defensive as they get. On the downside, we had the meme stocks, with the exception of Virgin Galactic, which came out after the close and jumped 10% or $2 and has given back half of that on the news that the FAA has cleared them in a, quote, mishap where they veered off course a couple of months ago, and their test flights were suspended. So they've been cleared on that. They reopened airlines and cruise lines down, work from anywhere down, pot down, retail down, and mixed were the total return sector that I have listed in the weekly letter: biopharma, financials, and infrastructure. And tomorrow we have, it's Thursday, so it's claims day. So we have claims. We have the third estimate for Q2 GDP and the Chicago PMI. Now, the chart on the screen is silver, and I went to a weekly. This is a very disturbing chart to me because I'm long-term bullish on silver. But we've now broken below the lows that we set back here in September of last year, followed by the end of November of last year, followed by 6 or 8 weeks ago, August the 9th of this year, and today we went right through it like a knife through butter. I have not seen silver liquidated this badly in a very long time. And here is the open interest, which shows that, there must be a bunch of silver out there, out for delivery, that nobody wants. If you recall, very often, and in particular last April in the oil market, remember there was a glut of oil that nobody wanted to take delivery of, and oil went from $40 to minus $40 in a period of 3 weeks. So we may be seeing that here, but it looks to me, I hate to say it, but it looks to me like we're going to test this $20 area. And today, while gold was only about 0.6, and I'll get to that in a second, only about 0.6% down, silver was down 4.37%. That's at 21.5. 20 is an additional 6%. And what you have to remember here is that commodities, futures in particular, trade on very thin margins. And so a 5% move in silver is really pretty extreme. This red line is the 100-week moving average. The next is the 200-week moving average at 19. I can't imagine it gets there, but, I just don't know. Hopefully it's just a short-term glut coming into expiration. The gold, on the other hand, and I, again, have to remind everyone, Dennis has been just a monster in this, and has had these numbers where he has gone into these trades with really minor amounts of risk. As I said before about the silver, margins are thin, so moves are really fantastic. And Dennis was, short here, was calling for a bottom at 1735. We came through there and rallied all the way back to 1830. He was a seller in here and is looking to be a buyer again. We have this $15,000 gold only futures trading program. We've been wildly successful in it, and we're getting a lot of questions. Don't be lazy about this. You need to think about it. There are some really major tax advantages in trading futures. And again, we're lucky to have Dennis because he is really an excellent trader. Okay, so the gold closed 1722.90. That was down $14 with a low of 1721. And our risk, if going long in this 1700 area, is really minor. We only had one close at 1698.50. So, on a weekly basis, anything around that 1700 area would really be attractive. I'll show it to you on the daily. It's this area in here, 1700, but it really starts right around here, 1720 or so. Okay, Bitcoin pretty much unchanged, down 445 on the day, nothing special, but the dollar was very strong again today, and that was kind of interest rates driven. It closed 94.35, up 57. Bonds were down a quarter. Our position in the TLT calls is exactly unchanged. They've traded up from our 106 purchase up to about 135. They've traded down to 85. I can't see rates staying up here indefinitely, and I don't think that they're going higher just yet. But I will stay on top of it. Again, don't forget to call me, ask me about the trading program, send an email, and I'll be back first thing in the morning with your pre-opening comment and those claims and GDP numbers.